Well, hello everybody. Welcome back to the Chek blog. I'm James Phelps, and even better, this is Warren Williams. We have Warren Williams, Chek mentor and founder of Warren Williams Coaching, here with us today. And how you doing, Warren?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm really anxious to kind of get into this one. The Obviously, as you know, this is one of my passions, talking about the chakra
Yeah,
system. So quite honest to again be with you, man, James,
yeah.
and
Hey, likewise.
making it easy for me to be able to express this information really helps.
Well, I'm just here to. I was gonna say here to look pretty, but that's obviously not true. So. But yeah, so this is really great. I'm excited for this because we do at the Institute, we talk a lot about the chakras, and they're kind of an integral part of our philosophy and our approach. But I don't think that we have ever really taken the time to give kind of a primer, to give a basic understanding of what the chakras are and what they're all about, what they mean, how do we work with them, what do they tell us about the body, all that sort of good stuff. So I'm excited. I'm excited for you to talk about this with us today. We're officially what we're talking about is your trauma stored in the cells, an understanding of the chakra system. So yes, great to have you talking with us about this topic today, Warren.
Thanks a lot. So jumping right into it, just to
Yeah,
kind of obviously for some of the Czech practitioners would have seen this on one of our webinars that we did together.
yeah,
This is kind of like a condensed version. So just to let the viewers know, we're going to try and get this done in about 20 minutes, but when we really expanded on it, it was almost 2 hours. So you're going to have to
yeah.
bear with me
It's
on
right.
this. So I'm going to kind of touch on a few things. So
Yeah,
first of all, we divide the body into software and hardware. So I'm going to kind of break this down in a little bit of a simpler way. Software and hardware. This is how I always look at it. So obviously, when you have a computer, you've got the hardware. The hardware is just the shell, but what drives it is the software. The same thing is with humans. The human without the internal structure is just a cadaver, just empty, just dead flesh. What animates us and allows us to exist is the spirit and the soul, and what people call prana or life force that kind of animates the physical body. So we kind of just, paint a little picture so people listen to this kind of understand how the body works energetically. So the software is the psyche, the emotions, the ego, and the life force that makes the personality of the person move the body. So I always kind of say the car is the body, and then you are the driver of the car. The car goes nowhere unless you push the gas pedal and you direct it to directions. Now that is analogous to you making choices with your body. Okay, so that's kind of like the preface of it. So people would have heard of the seven chakras. As I always say, it's not just all known as just chakras, it's also energy centers or vortexes or psychic gates. Now, scientifically, there's been loads of scientists such as Valerie Hunt and other people that have kind of found scientific ways to quantify the existence of the chakra system in the body. So we now know what people knew thousands of years ago, that the chakra system is physical. They are physical organs in the body. So we're not going to get into that because that takes quite a while to explain, but just for the clients, the listeners to know that they're physical centers in the body. And those physical centers relate directly to all the glands and organs on the same nerve plexus. So if we look at the spine, obviously we've got a specific amount of vertebra in the spine. The chakra system, the major chakras are glands that superimpose the spine. They sit at different points in the spine. And each one of these chakras resonates at a specific frequency. And everything in creation is vibrating at a frequency. We know this when, just looking at obvious things like such as microwaves or microwave ovens. Microwave ovens heat food up through oscillation, which is movement or rapid movement, which creates a frequency. If you blow a horn, you can blow a high horn or a low horn. Those are different frequencies. If you go next to a computer and you listen to the modem, you can hear it humming. That's a frequency. So everything has a frequency. And like I've said to people on our other talk about this, when someone's dying, or near death, medical team, they get a defibrillator out and they charge the electrical current into the heart to bring them back to life. That is energy or frequency. When someone goes to the hospital and they go and get physio and they go and get ultrasound, that's a frequency because it's sound. It's simply ultrasonic sound. So hopefully now people listening to this will actually understand, if they didn't before, that all these frequencies are part of reality of the world. So now we kind of got that in place. So the 7 chakras, they resonate at different frequencies, and the color of each chakra is the frequency it resonates at. So when you see blue, you're actually seeing the color vibrating blue, which is so. So on the musical scale, we've got do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti. And scientifically, it's been proven that like so on the musical scale vibrates on the color blue, which is the throat chakra. So we know the chakra system scientifically is real, that the colors are real because of the tone creating a frequency, which has been proven. So that's kind of like an overview of the chakras. The interesting thing also about the chakra system is that every single joint in the body is a minor chakra system, because when we talk about the 7 chakras, we actually call them the 7 major chakras, which are along the spine. But then we've got the minor chakras, such as how people do hands-on healing. They do hands-on healing because they've got energy points in their palms, which are minor chakra points that allow connection to major chakra points along the spine when you heal. So every area of the body has energy or vortexes. And whenever you create a disruption in any area of the body, that disruption energetically manifests physically as pain. So, when I talk to people about migraines, people think, well, migraines are just in the brain. No, it's not in the brain. It manifests energetically in the mind, and the mind is the spiritual counterpart to the brain. Just the same way how the soul is the spiritual counterpart to the body. So everything has that yin and yang, that balance, that equation, plus and minus. This is another example of the equation. So everything has to balance out. So the outward projection of the body, first of all, we're a person who's a body, has skin, muscles, bones, organs, tissues, cells, ligaments, atoms. That's the outward way of looking at it. And the inward way of looking at it is we go the other way. So I always say, like, you look at the body, like when you get one of those cameras that go inside the body, like when they do keyhole surgery and stuff like that, and the camera goes inside the body and it goes, when you get deeper and deeper and you see the cell splits apart and you see the muscle splits apart. If people visualize that when I'm explaining this, then it kind of makes more sense. So the inward projection is, first of all, you start off as an atom. Imagine that atom expanding outwardly, and then you get the atom, then you get the cell, then you get tissue, you get ligaments, you get organs, you get bones. Then all of those things are housed inside a body, and then that body creates a person, and then that person is animated through life. But you go back to the atom. The atom is the electrical spark, and that electrical spark, as we know, protons, neutrons, electrons, we have energetic charge. That energetic charge is part of that spiritual self that is housed inside that physical body. Hopefully that's kind of clear. People might have to rewind this again, because I know it was a little bit quick. But yeah, that's kind of like a summary of the chakra system and how it relates to the physical world. Mm-hmm. So now getting to the whole point of trauma. So trauma is emotion stored in the body. You hear a lot of people talking about, investment of emotion. Like most of the top athletes in the world will say to you that their sport is 95% mental, and they may have overcome an illness or an injury mentally first. Because you have to first of all accept that you are going to get better mentally. So that's the emotional energy that can be stored in the cell. And as we say, like we said in some of our other talks, those people that think about getting better versus those who think they're going to stay ill recover fast. It's been scientifically proven. So if that's been proven, then it's also been proven that those that don't want to get better won't get better. And if that's the case, then your emotion is storing itself in a specific section of your body. So like I say to some people when I explain the chakra system, when you're going to go for a job interview, or you may be on the radio for the first time or something like that. You get this built up anxiety, and this anxiety stores itself. And I always say, does it store itself in your finger? And they always laugh like, no, of course not. Does it store itself in your knee? No. Does your knee get tight? No. Okay, where does it store itself? On my stomach. What do you get? Butterflies in your stomach. So what my point is that specific emotion is always in a specific place, and it's always in the same place. That's a specific investment of emotion stored in cells. That trauma is stored in cells. When someone is stressed out, people always want to massage their shoulders, because they store that particular emotion in their neck. That's related to the fifth chakra, whereas the butterflies in your stomach relates to the second chakra. So we know now, we've just had these two examples of trauma stored in the cells. And that trauma doesn't have to just be emotional trauma. It can also be physical trauma, because we know if somebody gets an adjustment, like we're talking about chiropractic or osteopathic adjustment, and it's a bad adjustment, that physical adjustment can then shake up all the organs and glands in the body, because every organ and gland has to be perfectly placed at specific points. And I remember Paul Chek was saying that everybody is almost 2 or 3 millimeters out of pain all the time, because the junctions are so closely packed. There's so much stuff in our bodies. So if you get an adjustment, a bad physical adjustment, and that pushes a specific organ out of place, that's another form of trauma in the cell. So it doesn't just have to be energetically, it can be physically. But then that physical trauma then affects the energetic side, because now there's a lack of flow. So it goes back to the chakra system anyway. So they mirror each other. So, and a lot of people, they love being in pain. And that sounds weird, but a lot of people, as we know, get mileage out of their dysfunction. They love it, because there they get charity, and they get, oh, I hope you feel better, and they get attention. So that's another form of people getting power from their pain. So some people stay in pain. Yeah. So they love that trauma. So I don't, sorry, were you going to say something, James?
No. I mean, this is in some ways the basis of, what is it, Baron Munchausen too, right? This idea of always being sick so that you're always getting attention and care and comfort.
Yeah, the caregiver. You always draw the caregiver to you. Yeah. So my point on all of that is that all injuries are emotional investment. So I'll give you a really good example. With me, a personal injury I had years ago. Long story short, I basically tore all the ligaments in my ankle. I was on crutches for 1.5 years.
Oh my gosh.
And with that duration of time, there's a lot of emotion invested in that. Yeah. Because now I'm like, is my leg going to get better? I don't know. I have fear. I have pain. I'm like, I don't know. And, my leg was getting better and it get worse, getting better, it get worse. And I remember this one particular occasion when I was, this is quite a while ago, so I was living at my mum's house. And the phone rang, and I was laying in bed, and I got up, reacted to the phone, and at this time my ankle was still really bad. And I got up, and I just ran to the phone without any pain, trying to get the phone, because that was my mum's house. It could have been my mum or someone. So I was running to the phone, and then I was like, I just caught myself and was like, hold on, I'm supposed to be in pain. And realization, I dropped to the floor in pain. So what that basically, I mean, on reflection years later, I realized I was only holding that pain through my emotional thought process of that pain. So we also know that some people that get MRI scans on previous injuries that are fully healed still react in the exact same pain. That's because the emotional investment hasn't changed. The physical has, but the emotion hasn't. So I remember Deepak Chopra was talking about the body and how you grow a whole new body every single year. But if the software is the same, like you think you've still got a specific issue or injury, it holds itself in the cells because the software imprints itself on the hardware. Get another example of trauma in the cells. So I could go on and on, but I'm sure everybody kind of gets that now. So I'm trying to keep this really
No, this is great. This is good.
Okay, so now locating every so we're just going to kind of finish off on these points and then some solutions. So when we go to the first chakra For those who haven't seen a diagram of it, you can just Google it, Google the chakra system. But the first chakra is located kind of low near, if you go kind of near the genitalia, tiny a little bit higher than that, you've got the first chakra. And a lot of times people have specific pain in that area, and it could be emotion. So they can go to chiropractors and osteopaths and all those sort of people to get adjustments to try to alleviate the pain. But the pain has been driven by an emotion. That emotion could be, and the first chakra relates to safety and security. For those who don't know, the safety and security, but it's also relating to grounding and connection, and the feeling of safety. If somebody's in let's say a woman who's in an abusive relationship, and she's too scared, and this happens a lot, obviously this is not a good thing. It happens a lot where women are afraid to leave the relationship in case they get in more pain. So that fear holds them in place. So imagine what happens when you're afraid. You're tense in your body because you're apprehensive of what's going to happen next. So because you create that bracing effect, because you never know when your boyfriend is going to come home drunk or if he's going to hit you. So you're always in this braced, tense state. And that resonates on that first chakra because you don't feel safe. And that basically means all the cells and tissues and organs in that lower chakra are holding and constantly in this bracing effect. So that might present itself as low back tension. And that low back tension is the muscles facilitate the mind. And the muscles are held in that fixated state. So you may go to a chiropractor who releases the physical effect of that emotional trauma. But as soon as you walk out the room and you go back home, as soon as you walk through the door, this fear, it comes back. So the solution to that is obviously a get out of the relationship, get support. Obviously that's another topic but that's the solution would be to change that scenario. So that's the first chakra. The second chakra, a quick example would be a woman, and I'll keep using women for this. Sorry, I'll try to use a better for the next one. There's not sexism or anything. Like a miscarriage is a great example for the second chakra. So a lot of women that have miscarriages, it could also be the woman is not comfortable with the ability to be able to be totally present with an impending child. So there's a lot of it, and I've spoken to clients like that where they're passionate about having a child because they love the idea of raising a child, but they internally don't really think they're ready for a child, because unless you've been a parent, you don't know what it's like, and nothing prepares you for it.
What is the emotional correlate with the second?
Sex, procreation, sexual identity. Am I safe being a woman? And the rhythm and flow. Or sorry, not just safe being a woman. Am I safe being a man or woman? The identity. So rhythm and flow, sexuality, and sexual identity. So procreation is a part of that as well. So for a man, it could be expressed as they don't want to have a child. So every time they have sex with a woman, there's this thing in their mind where my wife wants a child, but I actually don't. So they actually can't get an erection, or they sabotage their sperm emotionally because they really don't want to have a child. And that can be expressed with the woman in that she either can't get pregnant or she miscarriages because she doesn't think that she's worthy. And also the Russian woman syndrome, where some women are so busy, they just know that if they had a child, they'd never be present for their child because they're too concerned about work. So that can present itself. And that's another example of trauma. And I would give one final example with people that have thoracic issues like thoracic outlet syndrome or kyphosis, when people are hunched over. And people can get mobilized and can do thoracic extensions over the foam roller to open their spine. But yet they end up always like this again, is because what that does, first of all, is if someone's untrusting of the world, or they've been abused, it doesn't have to be sexually abused, it could just be abused at work or school or bullied, they naturally have this protective mechanism of closing down. So when you as the therapist are mobilizing the spine, what you're actually doing is you're taking away their sense of protection, because they know protection is fetal. And you're basically saying open.
That's interesting.
And the person's saying, I'm not ready to be open. So my spine won't open because this is protective for me. So until you deal with that emotional part, there's no point in mobilizing anything, because all you're doing is you're treating the symptom, but it comes back because the software supersedes the hardware. So that's kind of, the summary of getting people to understand the trauma. And the solutions are kind of obvious because the question creates all the equation created the answer there straight away. Simple things to do to get people to own and eliminate their trauma it's always back to the spiritual. It's always back to the spiritual. So grounding, there's many ways you can ground yourself. So, we've said this on a lot of the other ones, a lot of the other talks as well. Get your feet on grass. If you haven't got grass near you, real wood flooring. If you don't have real wood flooring, go and get yourself a grounding sheet. And you can sleep on the grounding sheet, or you can get a grounding mat. And if you're at work, you can Google this stuff, grounding sheets, grounding mats, and you can you put your feet on. It's probably 2 feet by 3 feet wide, and you basically put your feet on it, and you can work on your computer, but it's creating a negative ion charge, which is same as the planet's charge, which is the negative charge, and the positive polarity is yang, and the negative polarity is yin, which is growth or cultivating energy. So it helps to earth you. We always talk about the earth wire in the plug socket. The earth wire is earthing you or grounding you. So you can get things like that. Or you can get the earthen sheet, which means you can sleep, and it's basically grounding you. It's helping to recharge your body so you feel connected to earth again, Mother Nature. That's why they call it Mother Nature, because soothing, and soothing is protective. And protective means you no longer fear. Because when you are a child, you run to your mother's arms to feel safe. And that safety eliminates trauma. So those 2 things that you can do, which is 2 forms of grounding. The other thing that you can do is like what we said in the last talk, start wearing clothing that's natural. Because when you wear clothing that's natural, it means that the energy field of the planet is getting into your body, and it soothes you and it helps to heal you. So all those things help to eliminate trauma from the body. Outside of that is obviously seeking either a HLC practitioner or someone like a life coach who's really good at getting down inside your cells and figuring out what is actually the fear that you have. If it's an emotional fear, is it you're not living your legacy? Is it you're lacking your dream? Is there a sense of fulfillment that you don't have? Because these sort of things resonate in every single chakra in the body, and they're manifesting themselves as they calcify in the cells and cause pain. So once you start investigating and understanding every single chakra and the emotional theme to the chakra, once you address the issue emotionally, obviously we can't get into that now because it can be quite different for many people, but once you get that issue solved, your body will start to correct itself, because as people know, a happy person has good posture, an unhappy person has bad posture because they're down here. So forget all the correction, all the physical stuff, focus inwardly on the spiritual, emotional stuff. Express your truth. If there's something you need to say to somebody, but you fear that you're hurting them, but it's hurting you, me first always. So express your truth. If the person can't hear your truth, that's on them, but you have to be real and honest enough to be able to express your truth, empower yourself, live your legacy, and then your trauma will dissipate and you will be able to become your potential.
Yeah. So this is really interesting, especially in the context of what we talked about last month, right? The idea that your body is expressing your truth, right? And so if you connect that to what you were saying today, that your body isn't just expressing a physical truth necessarily, but it's expressing deeper emotional and spiritual truths as well. And so if you can get good at listening to your body, what you're getting good at is listening to those, hearing those deeper emotional, spiritual sorts of traumas.
Yeah, and summaries on that is just adding to that is so many people have things stored in the basement that they just don't want to get rid of. There's so many men out there that are just so tough. Men don't cry. They have so much pain. It's so much pain, but they're so unwilling to become feminine. And it doesn't mean go and wear drag. We're not talking about that. We're talking about simply, like I said to somebody the other day, it's not called yin. It's not called yang. It's yin and yang. So it means the male has to become, or allow the female side of themselves to come out, and the female has to become more male, but not too much, because as we know, there's this Russian woman syndrome thing where too many women are too masculine now, where they've forgotten their femininity. But the homeostasis means balance.
Yeah.
So allowing yourself to feel is not a weakness, it's a strength, because you are only as strong as your weaknesses, not as strong
Right.
as your strengths.
Yeah.
So if we do that, then the whole of humanity, we're going deeper than that, because the whole of humanity will
Yeah.
start to heal. It's such a big thing
Yeah.
if everybody just trusts and lets go.
Yeah. I like that last message. Everybody's just trusting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so simple. But
Yeah.
again, people think it's got to be more complex, but it's so simple. Letting go of our trauma by honestly, authentically listening and conveying and speaking to people around you that you trust allows that trauma to get rid of itself, and then you no longer have pain. And then you don't need to go and see therapists and doctors and all these sort of people, because you're honest enough to let go.
Yep. That's fantastic. Lots of good stuff to practice here. As always, Warren, just mind-blowingly interesting
Thank
and helpful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, I'm so grateful. And again, I'm so grateful for all the listeners and people that are following your blogs to get this information, to spread it and get it out there in the world.
Yep. Keep it simple. Trust yourself. Listen to yourself. Those are keys.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Great. Thanks, Warren. We'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.